Can you tell me, have you watched a lot of these typing sessions before?
I have watched a few, finished only a couple though.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, I usually ask at some point the SI question, where I'm asking the individual to relate to me a series of inconsequential events from the couple of hours before this meeting. Have you heard me ask
Mm.
that question before?
Yes.
Can you do
Hmm.
that for me?
Yes. Okay. So just before this, I spoke to my friends who I haven't spoken to on Zoom for a long time. And I had dinner, had some food. Before the call, I made some hot chocolate, sat down, watched a few videos, a review of the show, of the episode that came out today of the anime show that I'm watching at the moment.
Which
And
which
then,
which animation is that?
oh, you cut out for a second. Did you ask which show I'm
Yeah, yeah.
watching?
Which animation?
I'm watching Boruto
Are
at
you
the
watching
moment.
Boruto? I was watching.
Yeah.
I kind of I have trouble staying with Boruto, but it's nostalgic because it reminds you so much of Naruto Shippuden. Did you watch Shippuden?
Okay, so here's the thing. So back in Philippines, yeah, it was big, but I just watched the whole thing this February and it was life changing. And I can't believe I've not got into anime this whole time. So yeah, I
Yeah.
can't go back to non-anime.
It really is life changing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
do you watch them in Japanese with subtitles or do you watch the dub?
Um, so the first time I watched Naruto, it was dubbed because I eat when I watch, but the third time I'm now watching it in dub. No, in sub.
I see.
Sorry. So yeah.
Do you find it annoying to have to read TV?
TV,
Do you find it annoying to have to read TV?
no. I'm a subtitles person.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah.
Uh, all right. So, can you tell me which was better for you, age 12 or age 13?
13.
And do you know why?
Because I think I've just got into second year of high school. So the settling in after first year is better. I just remember struggling in first year of high school with subjects.
I
But
see.
yeah.
Do you remember a lot of details or events from high school?
If I went there, yeah, I would, yeah,
Okay.
I
So, do you think
mm,
that memories are often prompted by things that you see in the present? And you go, oh, I remember the last time I was here? Okay.
all the time.
Most people have what you might call a bank of shame shivers. That is to say,
Oh,
memories that they feel like, I feel embarrassed about that memory. Do you have such a bank of shame shivers?
I would say yes, but I'm trying to think of, yeah.
You don't have to tell me.
It
I was just wondering if you have.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
All right. So, when you feel like, I wish I hadn't done that, is it because you made some sort of social mistake, or is it because you hurt someone's feelings, or is it because you let somebody walk all over you, or something else?
It's more not thinking about what you're doing. It's quite like, oh, you just did that. I could hear my mum telling me, oh, you should behave appropriately, or my grandma saying, um, sit like a lady. Um,
I
yeah,
see.
so it's does that make sense?
So
Um,
you didn't naturally You weren't naturally dainty. You had to be taught to be dainty.
So far from it, yeah. Um, yeah, really far.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, I remember myself being told by older brothers of friends and stuff, don't sit like a girl. Because
Oh my
I
god.
just crossed my legs like this, you know. That's sitting like a girl, supposedly. Anyway, okay, so how many synonyms can you think of for the word happy?
Do you want me to list some?
Yes,
Um,
as many as you can think of.
Joyous, smiley, bubbly, elated, ecstatic, um, proud. It's not really. It's not really happy. But yeah.
Okay.
Um,
What kind of media do you consume most? Music, videos, books, plays, museums?
well, good question. With the current thing that's happening, it's probably videos.
Okay.
A lot of anime since the start of this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you subscribe to Crunchyroll?
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Hmm.
I'm a little disappointed because I was waiting this week for the new episode of So I'm a Spider, So What to come out. I don't know if you've watched that one.
No, but I would love to hear all of your recommendations.
It's one of my absolute favorites. I love it so much, but I don't know if the season ended or what. But there's no new episode this week. I was very frustrated.
No.
I kept checking and trying, and it kept being the same episode I'd watched. Anyway, okay, so
Yeah.
what is it do you think that when you're watching anime, describe your emotional relationship to it and or your intellectual relationship to it? What kind of things are you noting or analyzing, or are you just totally making the leap and just being like, you know?
Um, yeah, I think for Naruto, it was it was a big validation, just with how he is as a person, being really idealistic. Um, and I would say it started, although Avatar is an anime, it started with that show. No,
It
it's not, isn't it?
it is. It is. It's the only English anime that I've ever watched and enjoyed. I
Yeah.
it's like I won't even give English animes a chance. As soon as I hear that its original language is English, I just go, nope, I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
And I loved how. Oh, sorry. Go on.
so you say you sort of identify with the character or appreciate the fact that the character's values are validated. Is that right?
Yeah, basically, and just how the story really unfolded.
Do you
Itachi's
cry?
my favorite
Do you
character.
cry a
A
lot?
lot, yeah,
Yeah, I cry a lot too when I'm watching anime. It's just phew, here come the waterworks.
exactly.
Okay, interesting. So, do you feel like describe your relationship with your own emotions? How do you feel right now?
Well, I was enjoying the conversation about anime. Like, yeah, like that could definitely be a topic. So,
Okay,
yeah,
interesting use of the present or past progressive there. So, how many different emotions do you think you feel on an average day?
I don't count, but
What? You don't keep a log?
um, but it can change, but I don't know if I have the vocabulary to describe the nuance of the emotions. But if I'm alone and I'm watching anime or consuming another thing, that would pretty much color.
So, Do you think that there are a finite number of emotions?
Yes.
How many are there?
Sorry, not finite, but because when you said it just feels like an ocean, like it's not concrete.
Okay. Do you
It's
feel you use your emotions frequently during the day?
if I say yes, so how do I use my emotions?
Oh, I know what the question to ask is. I mean, ask
Okay.
this question. I've never asked it before, but I thought of it as a good question. I think I
Okay.
asked it once before, maybe. Um, do you think your emotions primarily tell you what's important, what to do, what not to do, sort of thing, or do you think they primarily tell you when your boundaries have been crossed?
Both.
Okay.
It can absolutely tell you both. Um, although, although I won't necessarily feel that someone's crossed me until I've been removed from that situation. It's like
Okay.
I,
And so when
I'd
that
be,
happens, do you feel like God, I let myself get walked all over, or do you feel like I
yeah, a
should
little
have been
bit.
more aware, or both?
I should, yeah, yeah, exactly. And then probably distance myself from that situation and prevent it from happening again.
So, do you think that when people cross your boundaries, it's intentional or accidental, or they're just dumb, or they're being malicious, or what?
I'm thinking of a person who triggers me, and it's when someone is completely self-righteous. That's my biggest pet peeve. When you think you're right and you don't consider the many other perspectives, that really grates on me. Um,
How dare you? Like that?
yeah,
You don't like how dare
it's
you?
more it's more passive aggressive actually. If I'm being really honest with myself, it's like, yeah,
Okay.
yes, it is like how dare you? If yeah, if someone
Okay.
asks me,
Um, do you do you participate in any like commenting or live chat kind of things on YouTube where you leave a lot of comments or other words in either live chats or comments?
I leave comments sometimes.
Okay. Do
Not
you ever get
always.
involved in like comment battles with people, or do you avoid those?
No, I don't. I don't really involve myself. So, for example, on Personality Database, the never-ending war on Naruto's personality type. I don't know if you know about that,
On whose
but
personality type?
Naruto.
Oh, Naruto. He's an
Yeah.
ESFP.
I just tend to enjoy reading the comments, but not necessarily.
I see. Do you have an opinion on it?
The beginning, I thought he was ENFP, but I can. He's definitely ESFP.
I think so
Um,
too. You know, he's Imagination Town's validation of what should never be validated, really, which is, it's like most of the time he believes in himself. He's totally wrong to do so, but it doesn't matter because he believes in himself so much.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, but I actually, ever since watching some of your videos, I think I can differentiate between NE and SE, and yeah, how he doesn't have any
Yeah,
in the
well,
show anyway.
yeah, it's I still get comments. Just got one the other day about how I'm an ESTP. I'm obviously an SE Dom. So people believe all kinds of crazy stuff. Let me refill my cup of coffee real quick. I'll be
Sure,
right back.
that's all right.
Okay, I got kind of an open-ended question, or it's two-parter. Part one: what values do you think you yourself require yourself to uphold? And part two: what values do you think you judge others on if those are different from the former?
Okay. So, as a coach, because I do coaching sessions, and if we were to do a values exercise, my values are freedom, authenticity, education / learning. And I wouldn't say that I judge people on their authenticity, perhaps. I mean, I can tell, have a sense when,
Where someone's bullshitting?
yeah, um, yeah.
Can you give me an example of somebody bullshitting and you being able to pick up on it?
I don't know if I can actually use that example because it's,
Okay.
yeah. But
How about on YouTube? Can you think of an example of watch like what when you turn on a video curious about like, oh, this seems like an interesting topic, but then you watch 15 seconds of it and you go, oh, this person is bullshitting. What is it that cues you in that context?
when someone is so sure about something and when they have so much conviction about a certain truth and it drives me insane. It's like, how do you know?
But wouldn't you say I'm guilty of that?
Hmm, no, I don't know. Maybe
Okay. Okay.
no,
Interesting. So in other words, if they have a lot of conviction but perhaps not a lot of justification.
yeah.
Okay. Um So when you mentioned the values that you prioritize, you talked about authenticity was the second one you mentioned, but and the first one was freedom. So based on what you know about what I think about how values link, what do you think those I think those two things link to? Or do you know?
Actually, I don't know. So I was going to ask you, like, what do you?
Okay, so typically I would say freedom links to either SE or NE, and authenticity would link to FI. However, I will tell you right now, you don't seem to me to be particularly FI. However, I will also say that I'm notoriously bad at telling FI directly, so I'm going to have to continue working the other way to see if I can sort of eliminate it or not, you know? So, okay. If you were in, let me ask you about. You mentioned coaching. Are you like a life coach or dating coach or something like that?
Yeah, I would say definitely more in the life coaching, personal coaching. Yeah.
Okay. And the people who come to you for assistance, are they looking for structure mostly, guidance in terms of direction, or or something else?
So I have to define coaching, first of all, in the sense that it's client led and it's non directive. So they could, so I wouldn't necessarily mentor. Um, so the coaching space is for them to explore their experiences and then eliciting, okay, what would you like to do with this moving forward? So it's not very specific where, okay, I think you should do this because, etc. So
Right. Well, that makes sense. I mean, presumably they come to you because they're looking for something and they aren't quite sure to some extent what it is, you know. Okay, so if somebody comes to you with like a relationship problem and it sounds to you like the person they're with just isn't being very respectful of them, isn't being a good partner, maybe borderline abusive, maybe not physically, but just sort of like clearly demonstrating a pattern of disrespect to their partner, are you gonna say, okay, you need to leave, or are you gonna try to walk around that a little more carefully?
I think the coaching skill would be reflecting that back to that person and saying, okay, you've told me that this and that happening. How does that sound to you when I say that out loud? So, oh no, it's not going to be directive.
Oh,
Yeah.
you and I have a totally different style. Sometimes people do come to me for life coaching too. I say things like, "Oh, you should leave." Seems pretty obvious to me.
I mean, if it was my friend, if it was not in a professional setting, I'd be like, leave.
Well,
But
I guess
yeah,
I guess if you come to me for life coaching, you probably know what you're gonna get, right?
yeah, 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 exactly.
That's why I don't get very many life coaching patients. I have had a couple of people clients. I have had a couple people come in as life coaching clients, but not many. I guess I'm not very nurturing. So okay, let me try some TI questions. You know what those are, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So can you tell me who my father's father's only son's wife is in relation to me?
Only son's wife, my mum.
If only squirrels eat chestnuts and I eat chestnuts, am I a squirrel?
Yes.
Okay. If all potatoes have eyes and I have eyes, am I a potato?
No.
If no penguins eat lettuce and I don't eat lettuce, am I a penguin?
No.
If no tortoises have shells and I'm a tortoise, do I necessarily not have a shell?
Yes.
Okay. If there are six dungarees in a platoon and four platoons in a wigwam, how many dungarees are there in a wigwam?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
If there are six dungarees in a platoon and four platoons in a
Oh
wigwam,
no, you've cut out. Hang on.
if there are six dungarees in a platoon and
Yep.
four platoons in a wigwam, how many dungarees are there in a wigwam?
24.
Okay. Um, okay. Would the average person who you know in a non professional capacity, friends, family, or whatever, describe you
Mm.
as colloquially extroverted or introverted?
Extroverted.
Okay.
Mm.
How much do you. How much time are you willing to spend outside of the house before it's time to go home? In other words, are you somebody who is down for the full party, or are you somebody who's going to cut out early?
It depends on the people. Actually, yeah. Um, it depends on the people. If I don't like clubbing per se, or going to loud parties, that kind of.
What about a metropolitan piano bar scene with everybody dressed up nice and they're talking about jazz and art?
Okay, so if they're talking about jazz and art, yeah, perhaps.
Okay.
Um,
And there's white wine and there's little salmon hors d'oeuvres.
don't care for that. No, I don't care for that. Um,
Okay.
when you said like the bar, and I thought about the dressing up, also tiring, but the talk that might be interesting.
Okay, so
Um,
you do you yay or nay on guys in livery carrying around little trays with hors d'oeuvres on them?
do I yay or nay?
Yeah.
Do
Do you like that
do you mean?
idea? Do you want to be at that kind of party where there's guys who have trays of hors d'oeuvres carrying around, and you get to just take it off and trays of glasses of champagne and stuff?
No, absolutely not.
No.
It
Is it too much standing up? Is that the problem?
it would be too much of a performance to be fancy,
I
and
see. Okay.
yeah,
To keep that up
um,
the whole evening would require too much effort. I see.
too much effort.
How do you feel physically right now? Do you have stiff shoulders, stiff neck, anything like that?
Yeah, a little bit,
Okay.
but like my shoulders maybe. Um,
Okay.
that,
Did you arrange where you're sitting before you started this so that it looked nice behind you?
sorry, did I?
Did you arrange the way you're sitting and stuff, where you are and where you positioned yourself before you started to look nice behind you?
Presentable, but not necessarily nice.
Okay, so it's like if you were to turn your camera a little bit, yeah, then there'd be a bunch of mess right there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would consider that. I don't think it could be worse, but it's quite messy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty messy right here too. It's like right here it looks pretty tidy. I push this a little bit anyway. There, now it looks tidy. Wow, what a tidy place you have, Eric. Well, not really.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. How do you sleep? Do you sleep well? Do you go to sleep at the same time every night? Talk to me about your sleep hygiene, quote unquote, as they call it.
I think I sleep okay. I sleep late though, and wake up late, just before work, literally just before work. But 7 hours?
Do you wake up fast?
Yes. Oh, can you?
Well,
What do you mean
like
by wake up
you
fast?
said, you wake up right before work. I need at least half an hour before I start talking to anybody after I wake up. If you try to talk to me
Okay.
right after I wake up, I'm just like, eh. I need to smoke a cigarette. I need a cup of coffee. I need to pull some bowls. It's like I'm not ready to talk to anybody right away.
Yeah, because my role is I work in sales, uh, so yeah, I would if I had to speak to someone 15 minutes after I've woken up, I'd probably be able to, but I that's not my preference. Um,
Now, because you're English, do you like soccer?
no,
You don't.
no,
Do you care about whether
I'm not English.
England's soccer team wins in the next Euro Cup game?
No, no. So I grew up in the Philippines, so I kind of missed the whole
Why do you have such an
growing.
English accent then? Do they have English accents for English in the Philippines?
No, it's actually very American, but I don't know. I just adapted, I guess.
I see. What? How long have you been in England?
14 years. It's a
That's
long time.
quite a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself saying "hopeful bowl" that was when people are you're not a soccer fan? Never mind. I've been watching
I was,
the soccer lately, and Rachel and I both agree. Watching soccer is like watching anime. You have to have a British soccer announcer, or else it's just not nearly as good. You know, you have to have like Ian Dark or one of those guys.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, so what kind of can you explain to me any culture shock you experienced when you moved to England?
Yes. Yeah, it was a big culture shock because I came from a really strict Christian upbringing and went to a Baptist school. And coming over to the UK and people talking back at teachers, it was completely what? Like that, that's completely unheard of back in the Philippines. So yeah, it was a school was, yeah, that was the biggest culture shock.
I see.
And
And
the different religions and because the, I think I was when you grow up in that it feels like you're brainwashed into thinking Christianity's the end all and be all. But then my friends were Sikhs and Muslims and they were great. Nothing like what I was taught. So
so, were you well
yeah.
accepted in the new environment?
No, but the people who adopted me were the people who loved anime. So I'm thankful for them. Um,
Why did they adopt you? Can you tell me this story? Did your parents die or something?
oh no no no. So I mean like friends in school, the people who adopted me into their social circle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, but I moved with my family.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So, how much agency did you feel over that yourself? Like, did you seek out certain people to hang out with, or did you just wait for some group to adopt you?
Sorry, it's really choppy. So the last thing I heard was do you search do
Did you look for people to hang out with, or did you say, I want to hang out with those people, or did you just wait for some group of people to adopt you, quote unquote?
I think I waited because it's a new country. So yeah, was quite shy and reserved in the beginning. You're trying to adapt to a new environment, completely new everything. And it was hard to understand the accent coming from, yeah, Philippines as well. So
Did you have some Cockney teachers who really who really hammed it up and you couldn't understand them at all?
yeah, also Scottish teachers actually as well. So it's even harder.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, uh, let me ask you some TE questions. I'd like you to plan for me a Boy Scout trip. You're a Boy Scout, Cub Scout mom, okay? You're a Cub Scout mom. You've got to plan a Cub Scout themed kind of outing, something woodsy, something camping ish, okay? Go ahead and talk me through your planning process.
Okay. Well, I've never experienced any Cub Scouting before, but if I were to adapt it, I would make sure that I have contact details of all the parents first of all, and then look at what the previous trips were,
They
or like
went
what the trends are.
they went rappelling down a steep waterfall last time.
Okay,
They had an ESFP
great.
guy in charge who the parents thought it was a little much. They lost three boys on the trip. They died, but they're hoping you can make it through the whole Cub Scout trip
That's
without
fucking
killing
terrible.
anybody this time.
That's fucking terrible.
They're looking
Okay,
for
so
something
definitely make
safer.
sure. Okay. So yeah, I'll probably learn survival skills and have an adult who is very aware of health and safety.
This
um,
is not planning a Cub Scout trip, what you're doing right now. Let me tell you.
okay.
This is called planning to cover your ass, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try a different one.
Okay.
I'm a gardener you've hired to plant geraniums in your front yard. But I don't know what to do at all. I need you to walk me through all the steps. Go ahead. What are
Okay.
the steps I need to do to plant some geraniums in your front yard?
Okay. So basically, look at your garden first. Maybe take out some weeds. Make sure that the soil is prepared. Then, when the soil is prepared, you go to the shop and perhaps get the geraniums. Maybe you have it already. And then take out your tools, do your digging out, putting the geraniums in, water it, done.
Okay. It didn't sound to me like you put the dirt back on top of the geraniums after you put them in the holes.
Oh, well.
Okay. Let me see if I have another TE test for you of sorts. Actually, let me ask you this. Can you explain to me the logic as to why it is that if somebody rear ends somebody else, it's always the person who does the rear ending's fault legally?
Rear ending.
Yeah, in a car crash. So one car
Oh my
comes
God,
to a stop, the other car hits him from behind. Okay, it doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter how suddenly this guy stops or abruptly out of nowhere. It's always this guy's fault. Can you explain the logic as to why?
Because the guy at the back needs to always be aware of the signs from the car at the front. Also, I don't drive, but that's what I
Okay,
would say for
so why does the car in the back always need to be aware?
because you're going forward. You need to be aware of what's in front of you.
Okay,
And the person in front of you is not going to be always aware of the front. So
right. Okay, so I mean, I don't know if there's an exactly correct answer to this or anything, but I think basically it's that the onus has to be on one of the two parties, and it should be on the person who can avoid rather than on the person who who can who can't avoid, right? So it's like the person behind can avoid in theory by leaving a larger gap or something, whereas the person in front can't prevent proactively in the same fashion. But regardless, okay, let me ask: have you ever heard me ask the felony murder question?
no.
Okay, so felony murder means if you're in the commission of a felony and somebody dies, it counts as murder. So in other words, if if I if I home invasion you and tie you up and then leave with your stuff, and then nobody comes to get you, and you end up starving to death, it's murder, right? It might not. It might normally be manslaughter or something, but instead it would be murder because it was in the commission of a felony that I caused your death. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
in this scenario, what's happened is there's a home invasion. The guy's come in, and he's tied up the man and his wife. And after tying up the man and his wife, he
Eric, sorry, you cut out.
okay.
Oh,
That's
sorry,
that.
sorry.
I just repeated it because I knew I cut out. So a home invasion. The guy comes in. He ties up the man and his wife. He steals some stuff from the safe. As he's running out, he drops a one of the pieces of jewelry that he stole. He didn't tie them up very well. The guy gets out of the ropes and he's running to get to the landline because he only has a landline for some reason. And the guy, as I said, is running out of the house with the jewelry, and then the homeowner steps on the piece of jewelry that he dropped, slips, falls, cracks his head open, and dies. Now, what's the salient fact? What's the thing that matters into whether or not it counts as murder or manslaughter?
That the guy died. So regardless of how it went about.
Okay, that's a pretty good answer. Another possible answer is whether the criminal is still in the house, whether that counts as still being in the commission of a crime. So it's like I confused matters with the example I gave you, though. So that's the problem here. Okay, let me try a different tactic. Have you ever heard me ask the troll question before?
No.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. All right, so I want this is a story question. As the mayor, you're gonna play like it's like a role playing question. You're the mayor of a town. It's the Middle Ages. Your town is split into. I'll repeat this. You're a mayor. It's the Middle Ages. Your town is split in two by a river. Okay. One half of the town you have all your farms and foodstuffs. The other half of the town you have your merchants and your craftsmen and stuff. Most of the people live over here. Your town, there's a bridge over the river, and that's how you get your food to one side and your goods to the other side. But a big storm washes out the bridge, and in comes a river troll. Now, a river troll's magic ability is to, anytime food crosses the river on a boat, the troll can run up, steal 10% of the food, and run away before you have any chance of catching him. So, as it stands, winter's coming. You can't rebuild the bridge until spring, and you only have enough food saved up for everybody to not starve. If the troll continues to take 10% of the food that you're transporting across the river in boat throughout the winter, then 10% of your people will starve. So they're saying, do something about this, Mayor. What do you do?
Okay. Okay, I'll tell you the first thing that came to my mind. It's make sure that the remaining food needs to stretch to that 10,000, 10%.
Okay, so the thing is,
But I don't know if that's
even if you put everybody on semi-starvation diets, you're still going to lose 6 or 7% of your population. You just barely have enough saved up for the winter as it is.
Can we kill the troll? Find a way to basically eliminate the.
You could try. Would you like to speak to your military advisor?
Yes, 100%.
All right, so here's the problem, Mayor. You see, we got this troll. He's 12 feet tall. He's got spiny stuff all over him, like that makes him like have armor, kind of. He lives in the middle of this wide river. Now, I've discussed it with the other generals, and we think it's a bad idea to do our one plan, which is we send a flotilla of boats down with a bunch of lancers to try to stab him. But the problem is, he's so fast in the water, he'll probably just tip over our boats and kill all our people. So I don't think that's a good plan. We've tried shooting him with arrows from the shoreline, and we could hit him, but they just bounce off him because he's got such thick armor.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Let's hear it, Mayor.
How about poison? Poison the food, some of the food, so that when it tries to take food, then it dies.
Okay.
So if
you try that plan, and this troll steals 10% of the poisoned food, and nothing happens.
Okay. Containment. We need to find a way to contain, if not eliminate the troll. And then also possibly build another bridge or find another way of getting the food over.
Okay. How are you going to contain him?
This is the Middle Ages. How strong is the troll? And what materials do we have? So probably
You've got rope.
Okay.
You've got wood. You've got stones. You've got some iron.
Okay.
You've got horses. You got all your Middle Ages stuff.
Okay, so potentially create a net with a heavy enough weight
Okay, so
to then
you're gonna net him on
throw on
either
the troll.
side of him, or you're gonna throw it on top of him.
Yep. And then basically,
How are you gonna
but it has to be heavy enough.
how are you gonna get how are you gonna get positioned with this net so that you can put it on top of him?
On the bridge.
There's no
No?
bridge. You're washed away. That's what your problem. That's the
Oh,
whole
I
start of
didn't.
your problems to begin with is when the bridge washed away in the big storm.
Oh my God. Well, I didn't hear that. Okay, I didn't hear that. Okay, so there's no bridge. Yeah, use bait, and then yeah.
So okay, but I mean the thing is, is this net so big that you've got people positioned on either side of the river going to drop it like that, or what? Are you going to float down in boats and put it on top of him, or how are you going to get him to go underneath the net?
Find basically find a way so that he would run into the net and then basically fall into the river.
So you're going to
And then it
consult
would,
you're going to consult some parties who are like engineer types to figure this out, or what?
yes, I think so, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's an interesting answer. I've never heard that answer before. I've asked this question so many times. I've never heard anybody try to get him caught in a net.
What do people say?
Well, the most common answer is kill the troll. Some people put multiple attempted efforts into killing the troll. Some people try to find out why the food poisoning doesn't work. Some people try to poison the food, and the answer is he doesn't eat the food. He sends it downriver to the troll exchange and gets troll dollars for
Okay. Right.
it.
Yeah.
So there are other solutions, but the single best solution, quote unquote, is move the people, not the food.
Too focused on the problem. That's yeah. Okay.
The funny thing is, when I made up the question, I didn't know if it had any answer or not. It was just a random story question. But the INTP I made it up and was talking to, he
Yeah.
thought about it for a long time in silence. And then he said, "Move the people, not the food." And I'm like, "Wow, look at that! What a neat question! It's got such a tidy answer." But almost nobody gets it. Almost nobody gets that answer. So, okay. It was interesting your process. You demonstrated what I would call effective backslot NE, probably. So, I mean, right now, everything seems pretty squarely in the INFJ camp, but I didn't really test the limits of your TI, and your value answers would suggest FI, but your all the other answers would suggest all your behavior and stuff suggests FE. So let me. All right. Well, let me ask right now what you thought you were coming in.
Um, I thought all this time I think I'm an ENFP.
I think you're an
Um,
ENFP.
yeah,
You're definitely not an ENFP. There's no chance of that.
really.
There's zero chance of that. Because your TI is too good. Your TI is way too good for ENFP.
Because I thought either ENFP, INFP, or ESFP. But basically, ESFP, I don't think I am that.
No, I mean, you're not an ESFP and you're not an ENFP for sure. Those two types both have TI polar, and their answers are definitively different than yours. If you want to see somebody with TI polar and ENFP, an actual ENFP, her video is still up, at least until she asked me to take it down. I told her I'd take it down in a week, and I probably should take it down soon. But I don't remember exactly when it was I said that. So let me get a link to it from here. This is an ENFP, okay? And you can see the stark difference between you and the CNFP if you watch this video. It's it's Monica.
Uh-huh.
It's from 1 week ago. She's got on a black hat, and
Okay.
if you go, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes in or something, I ask her some TI questions. You can see how markedly different her response to it is. And the thing is, of course, what her concern was about publishing the video was that her inability to answer TI questions made her look dumb. One of my general points about cognitive functions is the nice thing about cognitive functions is they eliminate or explain at least cognitive function bias like that. There's no reason to presume that introverted thinking is a better deliberative function than introverted feeling, but people think TI is smart and FI is dumb because of one is using objective justifications, one's using subjective. So, okay. Then the third thing you said you were ENFP or ESFP. You said one more thing you thought you might be.
An INFP.
Okay. So
Yeah, so
that's not impossible, but go on.
but the my I feel like I really relate to FI. The things that I write is very coming from that place. But then yeah, I think FI top slot is much more convicted. I mean, it has more conviction. Whereas I tend to, yeah, I think I don't know why I thought my TI polar I thought I was ENFP because last year I struggled so much about subjective truths because I literally could not wrap my head around how I completely believe that there's no objective truths, basically.
When you
Because
say you believe that, what do you mean?
because people will believe what they want to believe. Everything can be rationalized.
But do you think some of them are wrong?
No, that's the thing that was what because I felt like I tried to look for the truth, but it felt too elusive to me. And someone who uses TI probably wouldn't say that. And I haven't explained.
Okay, well, I mean, I think it's interesting what you're saying, but those are very much mapping concerns rather than
Sorry, it's very.
those are
Sorry, you
those are
said.
mapping concerns. So in other words,
Okay.
you want a decisive answer regarding the matter, right? Even if the decisive answer is there is no singular truth.
Yeah, that would be. It'd be so nice if there was one answer, but I don't think there is.
Well, I mean, there's not a single answer per se, but there is a metaframe which says that individuals have a prime directive, which is to close the distance between their expectations and reality, one way or the other. And that the personality types are 16 different configural approaches towards this central problem. Some people ignore the map entirely. Those are ESFP, is what you're looking at there. Some people are almost entirely about the map, like INFJs. So I think it's really interesting that you would mistype yourself as an ESFP because, I mean, you're about as far from an ESFP as as you can get. And I suspect that the videos that you do dismiss after 15 seconds, it's those kind of people. It's people who are throwing a bunch of wanton NI without any TI justifications, which is to say, using your dominant function very poorly and not validating on your third or your fifth.
Hmm, okay. I have a reason perhaps why I can appear FE though, because I I think I'm an Enneagram 9, which is the peacemaker. I don't like conflict.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's because of my upbringing, where it's super polite.
I don't think
Uh,
FI people like conflict.
yeah.
Um, the thing is, look, there's been a lot of mirroring too. You're aware of the mirroring, and so you adjust to mirror differently, but it's still happening.
Okay.
In other words, when I shift position, you shift position. You don't
Does
shift.
that? Do you mean that's Effie?
Yeah, you don't shift position in exactly the same way because you're aware of the fact that you're mirroring, and so you're shifting slightly differently, but you're nevertheless mirroring. And the fact that you're that aware of it is ultra FE. Is looks like FE tool to me. You are aware of it,
Mm,
right?
I don't know if I'm aware. I don't know, but
Let's
maybe that's also my coaching skills.
let's say you're going to get into. I mean, okay, but we can always justify everything away with learned skills. However, if you are that polished in your skills, then it's an area which is easy enough to polish. You're not gonna be that polished in your turds, right? Most people don't spend all their time polishing their least native aspects because they're not worth polishing. But regardless, so I was gonna ask an FI question, FEFI question. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, which would you rather drown, a puppy or a kitten, if you had to drown one?
I wouldn't drown any of them. Why? I would absolutely do everything.
Well, there's a super
Um,
villain, and he's got a whole dump truck load of puppies and kittens. He's going to dump them into lava if you don't drown either one of the two.
I can't choose.
Okay, there go all the puppies and kittens into the lava. Meow, meow, yip, yip,
Oh,
yip.
okay. I can only. No. Oh my God. Okay. I can't choose.
Okay.
I would find a way.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a very FI answer. The most FI polar answer is puppy, obviously. It struggles less. That's the most beautifully FI polar answer I've heard before. All right. Well, let's see. The other thing is, you seem like a receiving type, not a deliberative type, which is to say, you're waiting to know rather than to figure out. And I think you know universally rather than particularly. So when you say you basically reflect back to people what they already know. It's sort of a universal rule to a particularist problem. A particularist would more likely impose their own frame of reference.
I think if I didn't have the training, I would do that. Um,
And
but
what
but be,
what frame of reference would you impose?
sorry, Eric, it was choppy.
What frame of reference would you impose in the absence of the training?
Well, probably very much like yours. Like if it was the situation of there was an abusive relationship, I would. Well, why can't you see that? Like this is clearly what's happening. Um, like what are you doing? Um,
Okay, so that's not a very FI frame of reference.
okay.
An FI frame of reference would be, "Oh my gosh, you must be suffering so much," or "Oh, I've been there. I know how it is when you're so conflicted and you love someone so much and they treat you so badly."
I mean, yeah, I would say that too.
Would you really? Would you mean it? I mean, I'd believe the first thing you just said more than the second.
Oh, I don't know. I associate FE with fakeness sometimes, being fake and being
I'm
too
going to interrupt you right now.
okay.
See, the thing is, that's happened on a couple of occasions too in this conversation. I've interrupted, and you've immediately pulled back what you were saying to make room for me. That's very FE tool. Let's say you're going to get into a car. The person who's driving doesn't notice that they've got this bag of crap they've left on the passenger seat. What do you do?
I would, yeah, it's hard to how do I know it's not just me being a people pleaser? Like if I was walking with my INTJ boyfriend, maybe I would say maybe I would just walk and not care. Um,
Uh, uh,
but what I will say is Itachi. So you know Itachi.
huh.
I think he's the greatest character ever, and so
Well,
I wish I was like him.
he,
Like that would.
I mean, he's he's probably an INFJ.
I feel like I aspire to be an INFJ, but I feel like I'm not. Um,
Um, I mean, the thing is, I'd like to get other opinions, frankly, about you. The thing, as far as I can see your FE clear as day. But your answers, your self-reporting answers, are giving me a lot of FI self-reporting. Now it's interesting. In a video that didn't get published, he didn't want me to record it at all. I typed Boba Fett, and I had a similar kind of phenomenon at the end of the conversation, in which he gave me some any answers, like self-reporting answers, that made it sound as though extrovert intuition were more actively a part of his life than I had seen any display per se. So I said, well, hold on, maybe, the thing is, I don't really trust those kind of self-reporting answers because all the all the correlates that I'm seeing say beta quadra,
I
and
don't.
beta quadra is INFJ, ENFJ, ISTP, ESTP. Now, I don't think you're an ISTP. Your TI doesn't seem quite that robust. I don't think you're an ESTP. You don't seem nearly that extroverted or talkative or etc. You seem like a receiving type, but you could be an interface type. If you were an ENFJ, however, your SI would be less good. You demonstrate more SI polar, which you haven't demonstrated. So that leaves me with INFJ. INFJs tend to
Where
want.
have I shown my NI?
When have you shown your
Yeah.
NI? Well, for example, I guess what I would say is you've shown any fifth. You've shown what looks like any fifth to me. I've become a bit of a expert on INFJs. A lot of them come to me to get typed. The thing is, you say you're dismissive of this singular explanation or singular truth, and you're kind of demonstrating it in your response now to being typed as an INFJ. But there's a reason why you come to me to get typed. It's because I'm actually decisive about the matter and I know what I'm doing. I've got lots of examples and experience to link to. I can prove you're not an ENFP by showing you how your answers are very distinct from an ENFP's by linking you the video where you can see her TI. So the thing is, if you're just reading about FI and FE as cognitive functions on the internet or hearing people talk about them very wrong all the time, in my opinion. And the reason is because introverted feeling is a deliberation function. It's a way of making decisions about what's important to you and about where your boundaries are and about what you're going to chase after and what you're not going to chase after. Whereas extroverted feeling is an interface function. It's a way of getting problems dealt with by looking to other people to solve things rather than trying to solve them yourself in your case. You do seem TE polarish, which is to say, your plan with the net is a good NI idea without any TE support. If you have an
Okay.
INTJ boyfriend, you're accustomed to saying, now you make this crazy idea work.
Yes.
Right? But
Yeah.
that's NI without TE. The net is a good idea, but when you actually look at the implementation process of it, it's a pain in the ass, and I don't know how you're going to actually get it accomplished. So you don't have a helicopter or a crane.
So okay, right. I feel like everything needs to be rewritten in my brain now because in my head an ENFP is a starter and an INFJ is a finisher, and I tend to not finish things. And so,
INFJs are not doers. Do not kid yourself.
but they tend to finish things, and their foresight is just. I feel like I don't see that.
That's not true about INFJs. That's just not
Oh,
true. It's like INFJs are stuck in this place where they're observing all the time how things are deviating from how they ought to be, sort of socially, and trying to manage other people to try to help them to understand the world as deftly as the INFJ does through knowing. The problem with being a knower is you're not a doer, you're a knower.
this is actually blowing my mind. Okay, and but you're also maybe ENFP, but more in the INFJ.
No, you're definitely not ENFP. You're definitely not ESFP. The only thing that is even theoretically possible is INFP. And the reason I say that is because TI polar is determinate. In other words, your lack of TI polar eliminates without any question ENFP and ESFP. I don't have a determinate test like that to distinguish between INFP and INFJ. So while I'm telling you with my personal certainty you're INFJ, I can't validate it with a good justification. I can justify and validate you are definitely not ENFP or ESFP.
Okay, right.
But my personal feeling is 100% you're INFJ. I would love to publish this video and get other people's thoughts as well, but that's up to you.
Yeah, that's fine, actually, because it would. Okay, yeah. It feels so elusive to me
Okay. Well, see, now that
being an
quality,
INFJ like that. That's always the goal.
the thing is, one thing that I think that will help to determine the likelihood that I'm right from your perspective or from my perspective as well is if you are in fact an INFJ, which I believe you are, then as you come to understand what that type is, you'll settle and be very satisfied that finally you know what your type is. My my girlfriend thought she was ENFP before I typed her, and I initially mistyped her as ENFJ because she displays more extroverted than she actually is, as you self describe, basically. You display more extroverted than you actually are.
That's true. Oh my God. I my one of my I don't one of my friends who is an INFJ, she said to me, "Are you ready for the existential crisis if you don't get ENFP?" So I have to. But because I feel like I've presented as an ENFP for a long time, but yeah, but because people would call me ditzy and I've been called that. And so it's
I'm sure Rachel has too. The thing is, you're not definitely not ENFPs, and I went on a date one time with an ENFP. We started arguing.
okay.
We started arguing before the drinks arrived.
Okay.
We went out to dinner and we started arguing about capitalism before the drinks arrived.
Okay.
You're not an ENFP. You and I get along fine. We get along great. We get along smooth as silk, right? INFPs make me
Yeah.
nervous because they're my supervisor type. So that's a good reason for me personally to think you're not an INFP. It's not a good justification because it doesn't validate universally. It relies on my subjective experience, right? But it's a good reason for me personally. And if you think my experience, which is typing lots and lots and lots of people, matters, then that might validate somewhat for you. But The thing is, INFPs make me nervous. ENFPs make me angry. ESFPs make me bang my head against the wall. You're none of those three types.
That's so funny. Okay.
So
I mean, I guess it's a compliment, if anything, and I trust your experience of
okay, well,
doing
you know what?
something.
Also, trust the video. If we publish it, you'll if you show up during the publishing, I'll publish it for later today if you want. Then you can see in the live chat what people think as we're going along. Before I've announced your type, they'll be typing along with me. You know, they'll be critiquing everything I'm doing all the time. You know, so you'll get to see whether people are thinking the same way as me or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
It was a
it.
lot of fun. Have
Thank
a
you,
good
Eric.
day.
Yeah.
Bye.